Hey guys, Steve Gutowski here. Yesterday, Virginia's Attorney General, a guy by the name of Mark Herring, he's a Democrat, announced that he was going to unilaterally eliminate 25 of Virginia's 30 reciprocity agreements for concealed carry. Effectively, that means that 25 other that concealed carry holders in 25 other states will no longer be able to legally carry in Virginia. And along with that, Virginians with concealed carry license, like myself, will not be able to carry in at least 6 states on that list of 25 due to their local state laws, which often a state will require that another state honor their concealed carry licenses in order for the other state's residents to be able to carry within their state. And so places like Pennsylvania have that requirement, and therefore, if you're a Virginia concealed carry permittee, you won't be able to carry in places like Pennsylvania. And honestly, I think, to me, that's probably the biggest news here, because while Herring said that he was making this change because these other 25 states' criteria for issuing concealed carry licenses is not up to the standards of Virginia, which I'll get into a little bit later. His argument is that essentially people that wouldn't get a concealed carry license in Virginia could just go to another state and get one of their licenses and carry here legally, and that's what he's trying to prevent. Of course, it's not true, because open carry is legal in Virginia without a permit by anyone who can legally possess a firearm. So the people from those 25 states that he's revoking reciprocity agreements with can still carry in Virginia as long as they can legally own a firearm, which would be all of them, obviously, if they have a concealed carry license in another state. So you'll still be able to carry here. You just have to open carry in order to do it legally. So, not ideal, obviously. The people from other states should be able to conceal carry in Virginia if they have a permit from their home state. Frankly, in my opinion, anybody who can legally own a firearm ought to be able to legally carry it concealed or open anywhere in the country. I mean, that's essentially what the Second Amendment states when it says you have the right to bear arms, not just to keep them. But the way that it's been going for decades and decades is that you need a permit in most states to carry, and generally most states recognize most other states' permits. In fact, Virginia, up until this point, was one of the states that recognized a large number of other states' permits. And essentially, the Attorney General has decided on his own whim, without any warning. I spoke with the Speaker of the Virginia House, the Virginia Citizens Defense League, and the NRA yesterday. None of them had any pre-warning of this. And on the other side of things, I didn't see any talk of this coming from Everytown or the Brady Campaign or Moms Demand Action or the Trace, which is a gun control publication. They write a lot of stories. They generally are pretty up on what's going on the gun control sphere of things, and nobody saw any of this coming. Herring just basically dropped this out of the blue on everyone. But hey, he gave us 2-month warning because the actual deal breaking doesn't happen until February 1st. So I guess everyone's got the holiday weekend to figure out what's going on. So thanks for that, I guess. Although apparently the Virginia police, who I also spoke with, in a piece that I wrote for the Free Beacon, and I'll link that down in the description so you can get a better understanding of everything. You can see a full list of the 25 states. It's almost every state. I mean, it only includes. There were only about 5 states that weren't included, and I think those were West Virginia, Michigan, Utah, Texas, and Oklahoma. So if you're in those 5 states, you can still legally carry concealed in Virginia, and vice versa. but every other state in the country, essentially, their permits won't be honored, which is absurd, of course. If you think about it, the whole system for concealed carry in the United States is, of course, completely absurd. States do not, as we see here, they aren't required to honor each other's permits, which is beyond belief, given that states are required to honor all kinds of agreements made in other states, from marriages to driver's licenses, but not concealed carry licenses. For there's really no good reason for that. It's just sort of the state of the law. The Supreme Court hasn't ruled on this. The Supreme Court really hasn't ruled on concealed carry at all, other than to say that it's different from mere possession of a firearm. Then the Supreme Court seems like they don't want to rule on it because they've consistently resisted taking cases that deal with these things. So you're kind of, as a concealed carry holder, you're essentially on your own, and you're at the whims of your state, basically. And as me and my fellow Virginia concealed carry licensees are finding out, you're really at the whims sometimes of just one person. In this case, the Attorney General. He did this unilaterally without any approval from the congressional body in Virginia, because he couldn't have gotten it, because both the House and Senate here are controlled by Republicans. The governorship is a Democrat, Terry McAuliffe, who actually himself just enacted a few of his own gun control measures unilaterally. He banned carry within executive buildings, so like the DMV, if anything that's run by the executive branch of Virginia, now you can't carry inside of those buildings, even though that's probably outside of his authority. I mean, the law, the concealed carry law in Virginia, doesn't give him any authority to do such a thing. At least for I suppose the Attorney General in this case is, in theory, authorized to make these agreements and break them if he's using the reasoning that these 25 states don't meet the standards. Their concealed carry process doesn't meet the standards of Virginia's, which is absurd, of course, and just plainly ridiculous on its face. These other 25 states, we've had reciprocity agreements with them for decades now, since the 90s, that this process has been going on. And all of a sudden, the Attorney General's decided that, nope, all the other Attorney Generals and the state police for the last 20 years, they screwed it up. Apparently, all of these states, these 25 states that we've had reciprocity agreements with, we shouldn't have had those reciprocity agreements in the first place, apparently, because these other states, they're not up to our standards for issuing concealed carry licenses. It's completely absurd. It's blatantly ridiculous on its face, but that's what he's saying. And I will, I'm going to include a little clip of the interview that I did with the state police spokeswoman. This woman's name is Corinne Geller. She's the spokesperson for the Virginia State Police, who technically works in consultation with the Attorney General to make these reciprocity agreements, although this move, I think, was very clearly brought on by the Attorney General, and the state police just sort of went along with it, even though it essentially is saying that the state police screwed up for 20 years or more in making these reciprocity agreements. But I want you to listen to this clip, because it's her trying to tell me, because I guess she assumes I'm an idiot, that this is no big deal, that it's just part of a continual process, it's just routine, that they review these agreements all the time, and with the purpose of making sure that, the laws, because the laws change all the time. Virginia concealed carry law in theory could change, and concealed carry laws in these other states could change, and then maybe the reciprocity agreements wouldn't be good anymore. And so we have to review these agreements on a continual basis. And this is just part of that. And that's complete load of crap, because one, the Virginia concealed carry law has not changed at all in recent memory. Not at all. And certainly not in the lead up to this decision. That's for sure. And these other 25 states, none of them have had major changes to the way that they issue concealed carry licenses in the lead up to this decision. It's just nonsense. But here, listen to this back and forth. You'll enjoy it.
The Superintendent of State Police, in consultation with the AG's office, we have to consistently review the memorandums of understandings with all states to make sure that the MOUs are in compliance with existing state law.
Sure.
Virginia law.
Right.
So, therefore, this is a consistent process for at least state police. And the list consistently changes because, obviously, the General Assembly sessions, the laws change.
Right, but the concealed carry law hasn't changed, has it, in Virginia?
No, but the memorandums of understandings with other states do change from time to time based on what those states and what our state, the changes in code and law. So we are consistently reviewing the memorandums of understandings with states all across the nation. We've been doing it ever since the Reciprocity agreements came into effect back in probably the mid to late 90s.
Well, of course, but nothing's actually changed in Virginia as far as our state concealed carry law has gone, and I don't think there's been major changes in these 25 states' concealed carry laws since the last time
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm
reviewed.
just telling you it's a fact. That
No, I understand that.
Reviewing the MOUs and so forth. So it's not like this, we've never done a review of MOUs before, or other ones have not been taken off the list before, or as far as recognition. You know.
Right. I understand. Actually, do you know the last time that the state was taken off, or that we ended a reciprocity agreement with another state?
I'd have to check with our legal office to see if we've got those in the files. I'm not sure.
Sure, but I mean, realistically, this is not some sort of what he announced today is not a run of the mill. Right, of course, and I understand that. But I mean, I'm just saying that this is not like this didn't happen out of routine. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't eliminating 25 states from the reciprocity agreement is a very major change to Virginia concealed carry law, or at least you understand what I mean. Like, this is a major change. It's not something that's routine.
It's significant.
Right. Now, Corinne Geller, I'm sure she's a very nice person. It was perfectly cordial exchange between us. I was just trying to get information from her. She was clearly trying to spin me in a ridiculous way, but it's not really her fault. She's just the person trying to sell what's going on here. But it still bothered me very much that she tried to BS me about what was happening. I mean, this is just absurd. I'm not an idiot. You know, I mean, I'm sure she deals with a lot of reporters that have no idea what gun laws are, and maybe I don't think even most of them could possibly see this story and think it was anything routine or that it came about from the continual process to review these agreements that happens on a year-by-year basis. Like that, nobody's going to buy that. That's such ridiculous nonsense. Eventually, she obviously admits that it's a significant change. Now, I want to talk for a minute about sort of some of the implications of this move. And I think the biggest thing to take from this, in my opinion, is the state of the Democratic Party when it comes to gun rights, and whether or not you should trust any Democrat anywhere with your gun rights. Because if you look at this situation here, we have an attorney general, a Democrat, who's elected by about 1,000 votes in Virginia. He barely won that seat. It was extremely close. Barely won. And he's in Virginia, which is a purple state, a swing state, a state that just finished an election that was almost wholly about gun control, where you saw Bloomberg-affiliated gun control groups pour millions of dollars into state Senate elections and lose. The Republicans managed to hold the House and Senate in a year where there was record spending from outside groups on these elections. Millions of dollars in a state Senate election and the gun control movement still lost. And yet, here we have immediately in the aftermath of that, an attorney general who's presumably going to run again as attorney general in this state, unilaterally taking action that negatively affects gun owners across the country, millions of them, in a practical way. And it's something that he didn't run on at all. He didn't mention at all. It's not as though he promised to do this in his campaign for attorney general. He did not in any way promise to eliminate the reciprocity agreements. He didn't mention this at all in the lead up to the last election or at all before he actually did it. And and I think that tells you a lot about the state of the Democratic Party and where they are on gun rights. That they will literally do absolutely anything to curtail your gun rights. They just will. I mean, that's what we see here. I mean, the Attorney General in a swing state who narrowly won his election just took an executive unilateral action to eliminate 25 reciprocity agreements all at once, effectively making his own constituents' lives more difficult, the gun owners at least. And so I think that just shows you exactly that's where we're at. So, take that as you will. If you want to trust Democrats with your gun rights, I mean, that's up to you. But this is where we're at. And this is, frankly, very bad news, because if this catches on as a favored tactic among Democratic attorney generals in the rest of the country, the state of concealed carry, already a ridiculous patchwork of laws, already incredibly dangerous. If I miss my exit on 395 every morning to go to work, I work in Roslyn, Virginia, which is right on the other side of the river from Washington, D.C. 395, which is the road that I take to get there, goes right into the heart of D.C., and if I miss my exit, the next exit's in D.C., and I'm a felon. Like, that's the reality. With this law, I'll tell you, I'm going home for Christmas. I'm from Pennsylvania. I live in Virginia. I have a concealed carry license in Virginia. I'm going home for Christmas, like I have every year. Since I got my concealed carry license, I'll be carrying in Pennsylvania, just like I carry in Virginia, just like I carry everywhere I legally can. But when I go back home in February for my birthday, I won't be able to carry, because if I did, I'd be a felon. Instant felon. That's how this works. Because of the Attorney General's political grandstanding, essentially, is what this is. It's not going to stop any criminals from doing anything. I mean, it's nonsense. It's not even going to do the thing that he said it's going to do. Because even if someone went out, even if someone from another state got a concealed carry license in that state because their criteria were lower than Virginia's criteria for getting a concealed carry license, which is utter nonsense. Even if that were true, that person could still carry in Virginia, because open carry is legal here without a permit at all. I mean, so what does this do? All it does is inconvenience me. All it does is put my life at risk, in the sense that I'll have to not carry in some situations, or puts me at risk of accidentally committing a crime, because I used to be able to carry in Pennsylvania or if someone else doesn't know that this has happened. And the Virginia police have no plan to inform people of this, of course. So I hope you're reading your news all the time, because if not, and you're a concealed carry holder, you're an instant felon, just because an attorney general decided to flip a switch and say, you're not allowed to carry here, it's a felony now. So, you might have gotten this already, but I'm pretty upset about the whole thing. It's very concerning. It really screws my life up. Now, essentially, I'll have to figure out how to get a non-residence permit for Pennsylvania, or spend the time and money to get a Utah permit, which I'm not even sure that works in Pennsylvania as a non-resident of Utah. Like, now, it just makes things far more difficult for me to follow the law. It doesn't do anything for criminals, of course. I don't think you even tried to argue that this would affect any actual criminals in any way. It just only affects, in his harebrained theory, this would affect people who can legally carry in other states, but he doesn't think should be able to legally carry in Virginia. Like that's all this affects, which is, I don't even know what kind of tiny percentage of people that would be, if even one of those people actually exists in the world, because of course he doesn't give any examples of people like that, and certainly the Virginia State Police don't have any record of that kind of crime. I mean, they don't keep statistics for that. When I asked the state's police spokeswoman, I mean, she acted like it was a crazy question that I couldn't understand why it was relevant. Well, maybe these changes should have some basis in reality. Apparently, that's ridiculous. But yeah, so everything sucks. My gun's broken. I can't carry at home anymore. My girlfriend left me. My dog's dead. Merry Christmas. Okay, I'm just kidding. This is bad news, but the elections in 2017, if this guy doesn't get voted out of office, I might have to find another state to live in, frankly. But hey, please go read the piece. There's comments from all sorts of people in there. It's very, very informative. You'll understand exactly what's happening with all this nonsense. Hopefully, I read as best you can, because it's nonsense. So, but I don't think it's very likely that this gets overturned in court. VCDL said that maybe that's possible, but I honestly don't think a lot's going to come from legal action. Essentially, the Attorney General, in theory, has the power to do these things. It's just no one's ever done it before. Because it's so overtly political and so radical, such a radical move to do. But I talked to the Virginia Republicans. They said that they might come up with some sort of legislation to deal with this, but I don't think that'll pass with McAuliffe still in office, just because the Republicans have a majority, but they don't have a veto-proof majority in the Senate, so unless they can get some Democrats to go along, which who knows, maybe they could. I don't know. I don't follow Virginia politics, state level politics, that closely. The Beacon's a national newspaper, so we focus more on national news. But honestly, I think the best bet is to elect a Republican Attorney General and a Republican governor, and then honestly, if you're a gun rights activist, look at this situation that we're in here in Virginia now, and take that home to your state and ensure that your state will pass a universal reciprocity law, one that says that your state will recognize every other state's permits. That's why Virginia's actually only losing about 6 states recognizing our permits out of the 25, because a lot of them actually have laws that say we'll recognize everyone's permits, because that's the way it should be. It's absurd otherwise. It's like saying you won't recognize another state's driver's license because they don't meet their driver's course isn't to the same standard as your driver's course, so we're not going to recognize your permits. Okay, that's absurd. Everyone would agree that that's absurd for driver's licenses, but that's the way it is for concealed carry licenses for some reason. Anyway, that's what I take away from this. It's up to you if you want to trust a Democratic politician with your gun rights in the future. It's just another data point in that debate. But I think the biggest takeaway is, if you're a gun rights activist, if you're a concealed carry activist, make sure that it's on your legislators' mind that they need to pass a universal reciprocity law, because otherwise one guy gets into office that decides he wants to unilaterally institute new gun control. He can do it by just eliminating outright your reciprocity agreements, and that has very negative effects on your life in a very practical way. It certainly has on mine. So anyway, subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, like it, share it with people, let them know what's going on in Virginia. And I mentioned earlier that my gun is broken. I'll put the video up for that. You can check that out as well. My carry 1911. It's a 6 Sauer commander size Nightmare. Great gun. The sights are broken. They keep coming out of alignment. So that sucks. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.